Well, hello and welcome to Inspiring Moments, the Dr. Amy Show. So today we are devoting this show to small business development, and we'll be discussing the fundamentals of business networking and sharing some key strategies for successful professional networking. So I have with me today, we're going to be talking about networking, and I have with me a networking expert, and his name is Mr. Kirk Johnson, and he's with BNI, and he's here and he's going to be able to help me to explain to you the fundamentals of business networking. So Kirk, welcome to the show.
Dr. Amy, thank you for having me on the show.
Well, I am so excited to talk about this topic because I think a lot of people don't exactly know how to appropriately network with others, especially in a business environment. So I have a lot of questions that I want to ask for you. In order to not miss any, actually, I wrote them down. And the first thing that I want to do is let me just have you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about me.
Yes.
In terms of business.
Yes.
Well, you mentioned that I was in BNI, and I'm still in BNI. I serve as an area director, and I'm still a member of BNI.
Great.
As an area director, my job is to help people achieve their goals individually and help the chapters achieve their goals collectively. So that involves some training on our brand of networking, which is word-of-mouth referral networking.
Of course, we can't even go any further than telling people what BNI is, because when you hear networking, use the word networking, I think I automatically think about BNI. So tell us, what is BNI?
BNI is a global organization dedicated to word-of-mouth referrals and observing the philosophy of giver's gain. So it's the world's largest and most successful business referral organization.
Okay, well, great. Let me ask you this, Kurt, to start out with. Can you share with my viewing audience just what are some of the fundamentals of business networking?
Some of the fundamentals include things not to do as well as things to do.
Okay.
One fundamental is, as a networker, your job is to connect and build that net, because I've tried it the other way.
Okay.
When you go solo, you don't get very much, and it takes a lot longer to make things happen. But if you were a fisherman, the larger your net, the more fish you can catch. So some of the fundamentals involve connecting with other people, including making sure you get out there and expose yourself to enough other folks of a like mind. It takes a little bit of education. Knowing what not to do matters just as much as knowing what to do.
Okay.
We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we should do that in proportion to one another. We've all been.
What are you saying? We should listen more and speak less?
You got that right.
Okay.
We've all been cornered by someone who had diarrhea of the mouth, and they took all your time at an event when your goal was to actually meet more than one person while you were there. Some of the other fundamentals include having the right tools of the trade when you're out and about. Okay. It amazes me more often than not that some people actually show up to a network and don't have enough or any business cards, or even a pen to write down some information that they may wish to recall.
So I hear you say one of the major fundamentals then, when you're showing up, you must have business cards to share with.
Just like a carpenter has a hammer and a screwdriver with them, networkers need to have the tools of the trade as well.
Okay. So 1, have your business cards. 2, definitely have something to write on.
Yes.
Okay. What are some other fundamental?
I'd like to include, have a succinct, very concise way to describe who you are, what you do, and what's a good referral.
Okay.
Sometimes we haven't prepared or practiced that enough, so it takes too long to explain it. And most people's attention span is not 5 or 10 minutes.
So I'm sure you can just give us a perfect example right here. Let me put you on the spot then.
Put me on the spot.
Perfect way to explain your business or what you do to someone?
All right, well, we'll try this on for size.
Okay.
What I do is save you time, help you make more money, and get you referrals for a lifetime. All you have to remember is work with Kirk for your business perks.
Okay, I like that. So it's a way then to tell what you do in a very succinct way, like you said, but get to the point very quickly.
Yes.
Is that it? Okay, I think that's a good idea. Now, one other thing that I wanted to ask you too, why is networking so important, and why do you actually believe it works?
Well, I believe it works because I've tried it the other way, and that didn't.
And what was the other way?
The other way was going solo.
Okay.
You know, being the expert and all-knowing and hunting rather than farming.
Okay.
Networking is important because the best business comes via relationships. You know, folks will give you the little bitty stuff, but when they have something really big to pass on, they're not going to give it to just anyone. They're going to give it to someone they have an established relationship with, or to a friend of theirs who has vouched for them. So that trust thing matters.
So trust is a big piece
It's
of
a
networking.
huge piece.
Now I have to ask you this. This just came to mind. Now this is going to be surprising for a lot of people to hear. I'm a public speaker. I teach seminars and everything, but I am an introvert at heart. Now I function as an extrovert, but I'm an introvert. What type of impact does that have on networking for someone who is truly an introvert? How can they actually work around that? What do you think?
I am truly an introvert.
Okay.
Many folks say they don't believe it, but it's
Right.
actually true. So if you want to find out if you are or not, go online and take one of those surveys and find out for sure.
Right.
But many of us have the ability to be situational extroverts.
Right.
So whether you're introverted or extroverted, it's not that big a deal as long as you can conduct yourself appropriately. Because once again, people have a misconception. If you have the right perspective, you won't get it wrong.
Right.
The misconception is you need to be yakking the whole
Right.
time.
And I think that's the key.
It-
So that's when people, I think about being extroverted because they think they have to be the one there talking, yapping all of the time.
The best networkers probably don't say very much.
Because you said use your two ears more.
Twice as much.
Right, so that's the key, and that's why it was so important for me to bring that up. Let me ask you this. What do you believe is one of the number one trait of a good master networker?
I kind of alluded to it already. It's listening more than talking.
Listening more than talking, okay.
But to expand on that, because what you're doing is you're looking to connect with that person. And to connect with them, you need to be paying attention to what their desires are.
Okay.
You know, the platinum rule comes to mind, and it's do unto others not what you want them to do, but do unto others what they want you to do. And so when you show up to a networking event, most people are there to get business, to make a connection. So if I walk up to them and do the opposite of that, try to get something for me, I'm not doing anything for them. So if I'm paying attention, if I'm listening to what they're saying, finding out who they want to connect with, then I help them achieve that goal. So the master networker is out there helping other people connect so that when it is time to follow up, when there's more time available to do that close, they welcome the call rather than run away from you.
So I just had a light bulb moment. So what I hear you saying is probably different from what the average person thinks when they hear networking. Because networking, I speak to a lot of people and people think networking, of course, is going out there so you can get business. But which is true, we all want to get business. But what I just heard you say is when you're listening more and talking less, you really are there to connect with that person to hear about their business so you can help them. And then in turn, as you help them, it comes back to you. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
What goes around does come around.
Okay, so that's a major key there. So when you're networking, if you have that in mind then, that you are there to help someone else, so you're listening to their business goals and what the ideal client is for them.
Yes.
That's the key.
And it may not be a client. It might be just a personal need they have. So one question you may ask when you're in that situation is, how can I help you?
Okay,
What would it take for me to recognize a good referral for you?
yes.
How long have you been in business? What makes you passionate about what you do? So there's several things you can ask to truly find out what they're about. And it isn't about you telling them what you're about until they ask.
Okay, I get that. Very good. So let me just ask you this. Now, I have a human resources consulting business, and we do coaching, executive coaching. We do training and development. So what would you ask of me the first time we meet at a networking event? What would be some questions that you would ask me?
What makes you passionate about what you do?
I love helping people, and I love helping people get to peak performance.
I would also ask you, what's a good source of clients for you?
Managers and people who are emerging leaders.
All right. And
Okay.
perhaps what are some common misconceptions? And how can I help you get past that?
The misconceptions? Well, I don't know about any misconceptions. I would have to think about that one. Some challenges.
Okay.
It's just, of course, getting into bigger organizations
Okay.
is a major challenge when you're a small company.
Good stuff.
Okay.
So, as you know, relationships are important. So let's say I do identify some of the potential clients that you may have. I still need some ammunition to present you to them before I can make a proper introduction.
Okay.
So a follow-up might be,
So that's the key then. It
Yep.
doesn't just happen
Yep.
at that first initial meeting. It
Yep.
needs to be some type of follow-up from there to
Yep.
really click together. Perfect. So let me ask you this. Now we know social media is a big thing today. Everybody's on Twitter, Facebook, even YouTube. What do you think, how is actually the social networking piece actually influencing networking?
It has been a tremendous influence. It did start off socially at first.
Yes.
Because it allowed us to leverage technology to do the things that we were already doing without technology. So when social media exploded and the movie came out, we all saw it,
Yes.
and it was a fabulous thing. But those kids grew up. They're now in business, and they didn't want to lose those networks, so the company, Facebook, grew and it matured with them. But also we found out that many people want to connect on more than just the business level. They want to know people that have similar interests. They want to know a little bit more about a person when they meet them. So they'll go investigate social media, which kind of saves a little bit of time. You don't have to ask all those questions if they have it posted on their profiles. Social media has been a tremendous boom for the networking thing, and now it's actually becoming almost a misnomer because it's really business networking. They just call it social because it may have started that way when people posted their pictures and personal tastes and desires.
Yes.
But believe it or not, the things you have that you like, if you have 2 or 3 of those things in common with a person that you want to get to, what a great way to get introduced. So you mentioned some of those managers. Imagine if I find a manager that has 3 of the exact same things that you love doing. And I said, hey, you need to meet Dr. Amy Hines. By the way, you both have the same interests. A is this, B is that, and C is this.
Okay, so
And they go, wow, I can't wait to meet her.
Okay, so that's how you use social networking then. So you find out some of the personal things that perhaps they might be interested in and connect on that level and turn it into business.
Mm-hmm.
Great, I like that. So I can find someone then who's interested in tennis, and then when I meet them, we can talk about a business engagement, perhaps training, teaching their
Perhaps
management.
even introduce you on the tennis court with them. That might be the place that we strategize to get you to introduced.
That's the key. That's the piece then perhaps I was missing on how you actually connect the social piece to the business piece, because I always say on the social network sites, I always thought it was a little bit too personal. So yes, thank you. You helped me there. Now another question I have, what are some of the networking disconnects then? What do you think are some of the things that are disconnects?
The big disconnect is what people are thinking when they go to a network. If you ask a group of people at a network, how many came to get business? Most, if not all, the hands will go up. All of them will.
Okay.
But then you say, great. The next question is, how many of you came to purchase someone else's product or service? Almost no hands will go up, if any at all.
Okay.
And so the disconnect is, if no one came to give any business, how can you possibly expect to get to receive any? So the disconnect is about as frequent as a solar eclipse. People do get business occasionally at a social network or a networking event, even if it is a professional networking event, but it's not very often.
Okay. So how do you fix that? What are some recommendations then to fix that?
Well, one fix is to adjust that perspective. Adjust that perspective. We mentioned earlier, connect with people by giving them something they wanted. But the philosophy, so if their philosophy was, I'm there to get business, and that's not working, reverse it, flip the paradigm.
Okay.
And make it, okay, I'm there to give someone whatever they're looking for, whether it's an introduction, a testimonial, or perhaps a referral if you have one to give.
Okay, so go in with that in mind.
Yes.
I like that. Now let me ask you this question. You know, we're experiencing this sluggish economy.
Mm-hmm.
What, if anything, that you can think about, what impact do you think the sluggish economy actually have on networking, and does it actually impact that at all?
It actually had a significant impact, because while the economy is down, money's tight, people are drawing back, they're doing less advertising, they're doing less of the traditional sales, mass mail, cold call marketing, because budgets are tight. Networking has a low overhead cost. It's business cards and some time, for the most part. One of the things that I've noticed and seen out there in the field was folks had some of the best years ever because they weren't solos. They had a network of folks who were in the same like mind, same target markets that were working with them. They had teams of people working with them. So people said, okay, I can't spend as much on advertising, so I really got to get out and start networking more because I don't have enough money to do traditional advertising. We're not down on advertising. It still works, but it doesn't work as effectively as networking, as that personal contact works.
Okay, so how do you then, what do you think might be some strategies then to help people to change their mindset in reference to that?
Well, I'll start with some numbers first.
Okay.
That might help.
Okay.
A magazine, a third-party magazine, did a survey across all the ways to market and across all industries, and they found out that mass mail cold calls resulted in closed business about 1 to 2% of the time.
Okay.
They found out that when people worked on leads, which is targeting a likely market.
And who likes working on leads? Oh, just the thought of cold calls.
But
and
that was
leads.
better than cold calls.
Okay.
That got up to a whopping 15%, 1-5.
Okay.
But when someone worked with a referral, a qualified referral, which is someone who's definitely in the market and has given permission to be called, the success rate went up to the posted speed limit up and down the interstate, 55%.
55%.
But there's something better than that.
Okay.
When you get a qualified referral and the person that knows them takes the time to introduce you, it moves up to the actual unofficial speed limit, which is 80 to 100 miles percent.
Oh, okay.
So when you get an introduction, you got an 80 to 100% chance of closing the business. Now, who would rather do 2% or would you rather do 80 to 100?
I would rather do 80 to 100. And let's just define for the audience exactly what a qualified referral is.
Okay. So qualified referral is somebody who's in the market for your service, absolutely, that has been contacted and has given permission for you to contact them.
Wow.
So
you'll call them up and say, hey, I have Dr. Amy here. She has this product, this services, and I want to introduce you to her.
And that person will say, yes, I'm in the market, and yes, she has my permission to call, and I'll hand that person one of your business cards.
So that sounds really good. Wow, that's major. So that'll take you then up to 80.
That takes you up to 55. Now, if I'm present when you show up and personally introduce you, then you get to 80.
Okay. So I hope everybody's understanding here exactly how this is work. Kirk, tell them again, how do you actually do it in a quick, brief way?
A quick, brief way.
Yes.
For the 80 to 100.
Yes.
For the 80 to 100. So you've got a manager you want. I say to that manager, I got just the person that you need to meet. Dr. Amy has 3 things in common with you. And they said, great. I said, tell you what, pull out your cell phone. Let's set up the appointment right now. I'm going to be there when you meet, whether it's here on the set, at a Panera, or at their office, and have you two shake hands with me present.
Wow.
My presence actually validates that I really do have a relationship, and you have just leveraged my relationship, even though they don't have just met you.
Wow, I like that a lot. I hope you actually got that. What we're going to do right now, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask Kirk to tell us 5 to 10 of his networking commandments. So you don't want to miss this. So make sure and stay tuned, and we'll be right back. So Kirk, I have to ask you this question. We talked before the break about some of the commandments. We already talked about a few of them in the beginning. So let's talk about some of the major commandments. And you can even reiterate a few that we talked about in the beginning.
All right. Well, some of the major commandments include having the tools of the trades,
right,
your pens, your name badge, your business cards. And the other commandment is listening more often, twice as much as you talk.
Right.
Acting like a host at an event, even if it's not your event. Act like a host.
That's a major one.
So that you connect people to who they're looking for.
Okay.
Having a goal for how many people you want to see. Being specific about what you want, in addition to having your own personally rehearsed concise description of your business. Some folks call it an elevator speech.
Okay.
So how's that for some? There is one specific commandment, commandment not to do.
Okay, and that's what I was going to ask.
And that is not to sell. Networking is not selling. It's not eating. It's not sitting. It's not drinking. It is networking, building the net.
So that's not the time to sell your business. Let's quickly then talk about the future perspective of networking. What are some new trends that you see occurring in business networking?
There are some new trends, and social media has had a lot to do with it.
Okay.
Folks have actually gone viral on their initial contacts.
Yes.
And so relationships are getting established online first, and many people forget that the same rules apply. If you initially make contact with somebody and you immediately try to close the sale, you blew it.
Okay.
All you've done was establish the first letter of the VCP, visibility, credibility, profitability. Some people think because you see me, you got to give me your business. But there needs to be that credibility thing that you can establish it yourself or you can leverage it. Now, if you have a network, you can certainly leverage it. Social media is the biggest trend. So many people are everyone's network now. Everyone has a phone, a smartphone in their purse or wallet or pocket, so they're good to go. It's happening in communities online, so you can do your strategic targeting and marketing via a community. Imagine establishing that.
And how do you do that?
Wherever. Local business global network comes to mind because even though we may be locally based, the whole world is now globally connected, which allows us to reach out beyond our local geography to potential strategic partners or clients or customers in other regions. And the web makes that possible. But the foundation is still the same.
And quickly, we are almost out of time. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to invite you back and with another colleague of yours, and we're going to talk about, just devote the entire show to BNI and talk about the history there and how individuals can actually become a member with BNI. So before we go, though, I would love for you to share some resources, books, websites, information that people can get more information on networking.
Got it. The website that comes to mind best is www.businessnetworking.com. That is a tremendous resource. It's blogs, articles, you name it, from the world's most renowned networking professionals. Other networks include, well, we'll throw in BNI. You got to put in BNI, www.bni.com. There's even more. I'll throw in SuccessNet. Even the social networks have a business applications or business communities in them. We certainly include LinkedIn, which allows you to get a profile online, and people can check it out even before you had a chance to even meet.
And again, I just want to say thank you to everyone. I want to say that special thank you to Kirk Johnson, who came as a rep from BNI, and we gave you some great tips and techniques today that you can use. And one of the ones that sticks in my mind is, remember, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So remember, when you're networking, always concentrate on listening more and talking less.